hope you're having a great day. Today I want to talk about oversharing. There's a reason why I'm talking about this particular subject because, when we deal with our patients and we start getting into the emotional life of our patients who have cancer and diseases, because we all understand the importance of addressing suppressed emotions when it comes to the treatment of every disease. Of late, what we see, it's been happening with a lot of people, and some of us go through it as well. We know about people pleasers, we know about people who have low self-worth, people who overshare. And these are clues. The reason why I'm doing this today is because some of us think that oversharing is just that, oh, that person is just so nice, shares so much, such a beautiful soul. But sometimes we need to see beneath that, what is the soul craving? Where are these behaviors coming from? Because you need to understand energy is energy. When you constantly overshare, that you are leaking energy. The same energy that can go into healing you, the same energy that can go into a workout that you probably don't have energy for. The point is oversharing is a leak of energy. Now, there are many times in life where we feel we want to overshare out of joy. But if we find that we're constantly those people who need to overshare, what can we learn about ourselves and other people who overshare with us as well? You see, at the end of the day, privacy is protection. There's no doubt about that. Privacy is protection. Everyone doesn't have to know every aspect of your life. They don't. Everyone doesn't have to know everything about your upcoming ideas or what you're working on, because not everyone's happy for you. And a lot of people out there wish people evil, wish people failure, unconsciously, subconsciously, and sadly, many people even consciously. So privacy is protection. Now, why do people overshare? Okay, why do people overshare? This is something for all of us to introspect in case we do overshare. There was a point in my life I would overshare because I was more in a people pleaser phase when I was starting off with my career, and I started off really late and I was already surrounded by top nutritionists from around the world. So I thought if I please my patients by not charging them and constantly give them more and more time, they'll like me, and because they like me, they'll tell other people and other people will like me. So I went through that phase for the first 6 months, and then I realized thanks to a lady who was 85 years old who said, "Hey, Luke, don't you value yourself? Where's your self-worth? You're so good at what you do. You don't need to do this. Start charging for your services. Start realizing your worth." And that's when I moved out of that phase. And I found that in that phase of people pleasing, it's very limiting to you. You burn yourself out trying to make other people happy when you already have a skill and a talent. So I moved from that phase. So I know what it is to be in that phase. But today that can be very limiting for people who are still stuck in the phase of people pleasing or always wanting to do good for everyone. No, you're burning out in you. So here are some points for us to introspect. No judgment, just witness, just hear, no preaching. So number one, when you don't have great boundaries drawn, you tend to overshare. You don't have good boundaries. So you just tend to overshare with anyone and everyone. It is always important for us to draw boundaries so that we don't overstep someone else's boundary. And at the same time, we don't hurt ourselves in oversharing. Because what you're oversharing, everyone doesn't have to be happy for you. Some people can take what you're oversharing, use it against you. They can find out your weaknesses from what you overshare and use that against you. Yes, there are a lot of manipulative people in the world. So it's so important for us to identify that if we're oversharing, let's go back to our boundaries. Have we not drawn strong enough boundaries? Another reason why we overshare, because people like to brag and people are looking for constant attention, validation, and approval. So you tend to overshare more and more, hoping that people give you more attention, hoping that people validate you, hoping that you get more self-approval. Because this stems to the third point, which is low self-worth. A lot of people who have low self-worth, they don't think good enough of themselves. They don't think that they're deserving. They believe that if they overshare, people will like them. They believe if they overshare, people will give them more attention and give them more validation because they're sharing more and more information that normally people wouldn't do. So people start to say, "Hey, wow, that guy's got such an open heart. That woman's got a free spirit. She shares everything." But deep down, there are these things that we need to look at. The third, when you overshare, you're not mindful of the consequences of what you are sharing. So sometimes you say, "Oh, I'm just an open spirit and I say what I want." But you don't understand by saying what you want, there are consequences. Sometimes you hurt people, but then you say, "I don't care. I'm an open book. I say what I want. I don't care if people get hurt. I don't care about that." That is a coping mechanism that you're using to feel better about yourself. We have to be empathetic. We got to be compassionate. Everything doesn't have to be shared that can, hurt other people. So there are a lot of times in relationships, people say, oh, I don't care. People should just hear what I say because I'm an honest person. So they feel by using the crutch of honesty, they can say what they want or overshare what they want without understanding that there are consequences of what they say. It can hurt people, it can anger people and stuff like that. So yeah, you can say what you want, but you got to do it with a little bit of critical thinking, a little bit of thought before you just go and overshare, thinking it's a great thing. The next thing is self-centeredness. When you're self-centered, you just find yourself talking more and oversharing. All of you would have experienced this at some point. Someone at that party who just goes on talking about his self, herself, their achievements, who they are, how they look, and it's all about them. So they constantly overshare because their ego gets fueled more and more and they feel better about themselves. They don't actually feel better about themselves. Their ego starts to feel better about themselves. And that's why they go on oversharing and oversharing, because they don't respect the fact that they should give other people a chance to speak, because they don't think other people are important. They don't think other people have something important to say because they only think about themselves. So that's where oversharing can also come. Now we move into a slightly negative aspect of this video today, which is manipulation. So manipulative people gain the trust of other people by oversharing. They start to overshare so much about themselves so that the other person, this usually happens in relationships, in the dating phase, or even sometimes in well-established marriages and relationships which have been going on for a while. So manipulatively, you overshare, giving permission to the other person that, oh, wow, he shared all his life, she shared, now let me share. And then what happens is when you start to share, they want to know more and more about you, so that then, they can actually mirror what it is that you're searching for or what you need. So you overshare that, oh, I need this in life, I like this, I'm not getting this from my partner, I'm not getting that. They use that. They start to give you exactly that so that you get closer and closer. A lot of, young girls get tricked into mindless sex, a lot of young boys as well, because of oversharing. They share so much that the guy or the girl picks up on the needs from the other person, and then they only give you those needs because they know that's what's important to you. So that's very manipulative in nature, and oversharing, you got to be careful of that. Why is this person sharing so much? Because they try to gain your trust. That way they try to gain your trust. So I've counseled a lot of people in relationships, and for example, when it comes to self-centeredness or being a narcissist, all of that stuff, they win your trust by knowing what you want, and you start to share, and they give you only that, and after a while it just becomes toxic. So you want to be careful of oversharing and manipulation as well. Okay, low self-worth, we spoke about that. Like I always tell people, if you do not know your self-worth, someone else will define it for you. Society will define it for you. You do not have to share more and more to win attention, validation, love, and respect. In fact, the opposite will happen with oversharing. You need to understand that limit the information, but spend more time on building trust. Just because you overshare doesn't mean the other person has to trust you. And just because someone's oversharing with you doesn't mean you need to trust them. These could be big red flags in relationships, in life, at workplaces, and everywhere else. Manipulation, manipulation, manipulation. People will overshare. Be careful. Listen. Sometimes it's fine. Sometimes the person really is that way. But just be aware. That's all I'm trying to say. Be aware. Okay, limit information and focus more on building trust, because privacy is protection. You need to understand that. Privacy is protection. You are leaking energy when you are oversharing. Oversharing doesn't mean that you love the person more, or someone oversharing with you you love that person more. It's okay. A lot of people say, oh, I wear my emotions on my sleeve. No, that's because you have low self-worth. That's because you don't have great boundaries. That's because you want attention and approval, and you want everyone to revolve around your life. It's not a bad thing. We're human beings. Just be aware of it and start to get better. Start to control where you overshare. Observe yourself. When you're at parties, are you just talking about yourself all the time? Keep observing these things. That's how we improve, right? It's not a bad thing. All of us have the 7 deadly sins in us. It's just that we got to be aware of them, tame them, and get better and better, become better versions of ourselves. We can only do that when we accept what is wrong with us. That's the only time when we can start to improve. So be careful of this. Be careful of oversharing. Okay, and be careful of people who overshare with you as well. That's why we always say never ever share your plans, never. The right people maybe, but don't share it with the world, because everyone isn't happy for you and everyone's struggling and they don't want you to be happy. That's what the crab mentality is. You know that. It exists almost everywhere. No one's really happy when you grow. People want to pull you down. They find ways to pull you down because they just can't stand their mediocre lives. So they need to pull you down so that you can be miserable along with them. It exists. It exists. Yes, in human beings as well. So be careful of oversharing, introspect. Have a great weekend, everyone. Until next time, eat smart, move more, sleep right, breathe deep, and remember, you care. It's all about you.